I should have said no. When my phone buzzed with his midnight summons, every sane part of me whispered to ignore it. But no one ignored Damian Blackwell. Not his rivals. Not his employees. And certainly not me. That's how I found myself standing in the doorway of his penthouse, heart hammering, throat dry, wondering if I'd just walked into my own undoing. He didn't even turn to look at me. He stood at the glass wall, the city glittering beneath him like a kingdom he ruled, a glass of whiskey in hand. His reflection burned against the glass, tall, dark, precise, like some cruel statue carved for worship and fear alike. "You're late." 2 words. Low. Icy. And they sliced through me sharper than a blade. I was finishing the reports, sir." The excuse fell from my lips before I could stop it, thin and pitiful. He set his glass down on the bar, the sound of crystal against wood louder than it should have been in the cavernous room. At last, he turned. Steel-gray eyes locked on mine, and the breath rushed from my lungs. They were the kind of eyes that saw too much, that stripped you bare before you even realized it was happening. My fingers twitched at my side. "Do you know why you're here?" he asked. I shook my head quickly. "No, sir." The smallest curve touched his mouth, a smirk without warmth. "That's your problem. You never know. You do as you're told, you hover at the edges of rooms like a shadow, you hide behind those pathetic glasses of yours as if the world can't see you." He took one step closer, and the air seemed to thin around me. "But I see you." Heat crawled up my neck, shame blooming hot beneath my skin. I wanted to deny it, to shake my head, but the words tangled in my throat. "Take them off." "Am I glasses?" "Yes." His voice dipped lower, darker. "Now." My hand trembled as I slid them from my face. The city lights blurred at the edges of my vision, but Damian remained sharp, unshakable, as if the world itself bent to keep him in focus. He reached forward, his fingers brushing my jaw with deliberate pressure, forcing my head up until I had no choice but to meet his gaze. "You hide behind these," he murmured, his thumb ghosting across the edge of my chin. "But you can't hide from me." My lips parted. "I'm not." "Don't lie." His grip tightened, not painful, but commanding. "You tremble every time I step near you. Your hands shake when you take notes in meetings. Do you think I don't notice?" A flush of humiliation scorched through me. I thought I'd been invisible, tucked safely in silence. But Damian Blackwell noticed everything. "I see you," he said, quieter now, almost thoughtful. "And whether you admit it or not, you belong to me." The words slammed into me, cruel and certain. My chest tightened, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. Belong to him? That was absurd. Dangerous. Yet something in his tone, in the way his gaze pinned me, made denial impossible. "I don't." "Yes." His voice sliced through mine, final and merciless. "You do. And the sooner you stop fighting it, the easier it will be." I shook my head, weakly, desperately, but even I heard how hollow it sounded. My body betrayed me, frozen in place, every nerve caught in his gravity. His smirk deepened, satisfaction flashing across his face. He released my chin, and the sudden absence of his touch left my skin burning. "You can leave," he said, stepping back, his tone casual in a way that made my stomach twist. I blinked. "Leave?" He gestured toward the door with a flick of his hand. "Walk out. Pretend this never happened. Go back to your quiet little life of hiding and shaking and obeying. You can go, right now." For one dizzying heartbeat, the idea thrilled me. Leave. Escape. Run. My feet itched to move. My lungs screamed for air. But when I tried to step away, my body stayed rooted where I stood. Damian's eyes glinted with cruel amusement. "Exactly," he murmured. "You're still here. Because you know you belong in this room, with me." The words struck something deep inside me. I wanted to scream that he was wrong, that I wasn't his, that I didn't need this, didn't crave it. But my voice faltered, and silence hung heavy between us. And in that silence, I realized something terrifying. He was right. The realization cracked through me like lightning, leaving a tremor in its wake. I wasn't his prisoner. I was my own. Damian moved closer again, his footsteps soft against the marble but echoing inside me like a drumbeat. He stopped just a breath away, lowering his voice until it vibrated against my skin. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. "One day soon, you'll stop trembling. Not because you've stopped fearing me, but because you've surrendered to it." His words wrapped around me like smoke, curling into the corners of my chest, filling spaces I didn't know were empty. And for a heartbeat, the terror shifted, bending into something I couldn't name, something that burned. Then, as suddenly as he had crossed the distance, he stepped back. The withdrawal felt like a door slamming shut. He picked up his whiskey again, taking a slow sip as if nothing had happened. Dismissed. The world should have rushed back to me then. I should have bolted for the door, clutching my glasses, vowing never to answer his summons again. But instead I stood there, my heart pounding with the echo of his words, my skin alive with the ghost of his touch. "I'm not yours," I forced out, my voice low but unsteady. "You can't just—" "I can," Damian cut in smoothly, without even looking at me. "And I will." He turned his head slightly, his profile a sharp line against the glow of the city. "Every day you think you're invisible. Every day you hide. But here? With me? You're seen. And whether you admit it or not, you need that." His tone was calm, almost conversational, but the weight of it crushed my chest. He had stripped me bare without raising his voice. "I don't need you," I whispered. Finally, he faced me again. His eyes weren't cold now, they were something else, intense, unrelenting, like a storm you could neither outrun nor stop. "Then walk out," he said softly. "Prove it." The dare hung between us like a blade. My palms were slick with sweat. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet refused. I could only stand there, breath shallow, heart thrashing like a bird in a cage. "You see?" Damian's smirk returned, faint but victorious. "You're still here." His words carved into me like a brand. I wanted to spit back a denial, to tear myself free from the invisible threads winding tighter and tighter around me. But instead, a single question slipped from my lips before I could stop it. "What do you want from me?" Damian's gaze darkened. He set the glass down again and came toward me, each step measured, silent. When he stopped, we were so close I could feel the warmth radiating off him. "Everything," he said quietly. But for tonight, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from my face with surprising gentleness. "Just your honesty." I swallowed hard, the sound loud in the hush of the penthouse. My honesty? The truth was a dangerous thing in this room. "I'm afraid," I whispered. "Of me?" "Yes." A flicker passed through his eyes, something quick and unreadable. "Good," he murmured. "Fear is honest." His thumb lingered against my temple for a heartbeat longer before he let it fall. "But don't mistake fear for weakness. Not in my presence." My knees felt weak anyway. My heart was a hammer against my ribs. I wanted to run, but some dark, invisible current kept me rooted to the spot. Damian straightened, his expression settling back into its mask of control. "Go home," he said at last. "Sleep. Tomorrow you'll return to the office. Pretend everything is normal. But you'll remember tonight." It sounded less like an instruction and more like a promise. I bent to pick up my glasses with shaking hands. The world snapped back into focus as soon as I slid them on, but nothing looked the same. The city lights beyond the glass still glittered, but the air felt heavier, charged with something I couldn't name. I moved toward the door on unsteady legs. My fingers brushed the cool metal of the handle. Freedom was a single motion away. But before I could turn it, his voice reached me again, low, commanding, impossible to ignore. "Remember this," Damian said. "Tonight was the first time you stopped hiding. And it won't be the last." I froze, my back still to him. The air between us pulsed like a live wire. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that I'd never come back here at midnight, never let him pull me into his orbit again. But the words died on my tongue. Without looking back, I opened the door and stepped into the hallway, the click of it shutting behind me echoing in my ears like a verdict. Inside my chest, my heart still raced, not just with fear, but with something darker, something more dangerous. I didn't belong to him. I repeated it silently like a prayer as I walked to the elevator. But when the doors slid shut and my reflection stared back at me in the mirrored panel, eyes wide and shaken, the truth pulsed beneath my skin like a secret I couldn't erase. I already did. And the night had only just begun. Chapter 1. The morning after. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, his voice followed me into the dark. One day soon, you'll stop trembling. His words were etched into me like molten steel, leaving my body restless, my mind a battlefield of fear and something I dared not name. The ceiling of my tiny apartment stared back at me, water-stained in the corner where the roof leaked every rainy season. My sheets were twisted around me, damp with sweat. The city outside was already humming, horns, vendors, the clatter of a world that didn't care about the storms breaking inside me. It should have been simple. I should have gone to his penthouse, endured his games, and walked away. But the truth wouldn't let me rest. I hadn't walked away. Not really. A part of me was still standing in that glass palace, pinned by Damian Blackwell's stare, burning under the weight of his voice. I dragged myself out of bed, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at my reflection in the cracked mirror above the sink. My glasses were fogged, sliding down the bridge of my nose. I shoved them back into place, but it didn't fix the problem staring at me. I looked ruined. Eyes red, lips bitten raw, a man who had lost something vital he could never name. And yet, there was a faint, dangerous flush in my cheeks. A glow that had no business being there. Shame curled hot in my gut as I yanked on a shirt and tie, stuffed papers into my worn messenger bag, and ran for the subway. The office tower was a monument of steel and glass, stabbing into the sky like a weapon. The Blackwell Corporation logo gleamed above the revolving doors. It always made me feel small, but today it felt suffocating. Inside, the lobby buzzed with early morning precision. Assistants clicked across the marble floor, guards scanned badges, and the receptionist didn't even look up from her screen as she waved me through. I kept my head down, praying I could disappear into the river of suits. But whispers caught me anyway. Don't be late. He's here today. Mr. Blackwell's been in since 5. God, I'd die if he even looked at me. The name rippled through the air, and my chest constricted. Damian. Already here. Watching, maybe. By the time I reached my desk, my hands were shaking too hard to open my laptop. I dropped into the chair, staring at the blinking cursor on the screen as if it could shield me. But it couldn't. Not when the air in the room shifted, tense, electric. He walked in. The open office froze. Conversations cut off mid-word. Keyboards stilled. Damian Blackwell didn't just enter a space, he conquered it. Tall, sharp suit tailored like it was part of him, every movement quiet but commanding. His gaze swept the room once, and the atmosphere bent around him like gravity. And then, God help me, his eyes found mine. Heat scorched through me. It was only a glance, brief as a flicker, but it was enough to unravel every flimsy wall I had built on the subway ride here. Castle. My name. Spoken like a verdict. Heads turned. A few co-workers glanced at me with a mix of pity and curiosity. Being singled out by Damian was never good news. Yes, sir? My voice cracked. In my office. Just like that. No explanation. No choice. I stood, legs heavy, bag clutched like a lifeline. The walk across the office floor felt endless, every step echoing. When I reached the double glass doors, he was already inside, standing behind his desk with the city spread out beneath him like a kingdom. Close it. The door clicked shut, sealing me in. The silence was deafening. Rough night? Damian asked casually, not looking up from the papers in his hand. My throat tightened. Did he know? Did he expect me to confess what he had done to me last night? I worked late, I lied, voice trembling. His head lifted slowly. His eyes locked onto mine, sharp, piercing, and far too knowing. Don't. My pulse thundered. Don't what? Lie. He set the papers down, stepping around the desk with the deliberate calm of a predator. Not to me. I stumbled back until the back of my legs hit the edge of a chair. He stopped just shy of touching me, gaze steady, stripping me bare without a single hand laid on me. You think you can bury it, he murmured. Pretend last night never happened. Pretend you're not standing here with your pulse racing, your hands shaking, wishing and dreading the same thing. I'm not. You are. His voice was quiet steel. And the sooner you stop fighting it, the easier this will be. My chest heaved. This? He leaned closer, the faintest smirk ghosting his lips. Us. I wanted to run. I wanted to spit the word no in his face. But my body betrayed me, frozen under the weight of his presence. You belong here, Damian continued, tapping 2 fingers lightly against the desk as if measuring his words. Not in your hole of an apartment. Not in the shadows you cling to. Here. With me. My mouth went dry. You're my boss. His eyes gleamed. For now. The air thickened, heavy with implications I couldn't untangle. His words weren't just about contracts or offices. They reached deeper, curling around something primal. I shook my head. I can't. You already have. His interruption was a blade. And before I could argue, he dropped the final strike. You don't even know what your body is capable of, he said softly, like a promise wrapped in a threat. But I'll teach you. And when that day comes, you won't be afraid. You'll beg me for it. The words hit me like fire, searing, terrifying, impossible to scrub from my mind. I broke first. I need to get back to work, I whispered, nearly tripping as I backed away. He didn't stop me. He didn't have to. His smirk said everything. He had planted his words deep enough that they'd follow me wherever I went. Go, then, he said smoothly, already turning back to his desk. But don't pretend you won't come back. I yanked the door open, gasping for air as the office came rushing back into focus. My co-workers didn't look at me, but I felt their stares burn into my skin as I stumbled back to my desk. I spent the rest of the day trying to bury myself in numbers and emails, but it was useless. Every keystroke, every phone call, was shadowed by his voice. One day soon, by the time the sun dipped low and the office thinned, I was exhausted. I packed my bag, eager to escape into anonymity again, to lose myself in the noise of the subway and pretend I wasn't unraveling. But my phone buzzed before I even reached the door. A new message. From him. Midnight. My penthouse. Don't be late this time. My heart stopped. The world blurred around me. The chatter of the few remaining co-workers, the ding of the elevator, all faded into silence as I stared at the words. Midnight. Penthouse. Don't be late. I should delete it. Block the number. Pretend it never arrived. Instead, I stood frozen, the glow of the screen burning into my eyes, my pulse a frantic drum. Because the truth was simple. I already knew I would go. Chapter 2, Midnight Summons. I told myself I wouldn't go. All evening, I paced my apartment like a prisoner, staring at the clock, each tick dragging me closer to midnight. I tried everything, burying myself in leftover work, distracting my mind with television, even standing in a cold shower until my teeth chattered. But none of it worked. Because beneath the fear, beneath the shame, something else beat louder. Curiosity. What if I didn't go? What would Damian do? Would he ignore me, let me slip back into obscurity? Or would he come looking, dragging me from my shadows into his world whether I wanted it or not? The thought terrified me more than the summons itself. At 11:55, I stood at my front door, keys in hand, pulse hammering. By 12:03, I was in a cab, the city lights blurring past like fireflies. I hated myself for it. But when I stepped into the lobby of Damian Blackwell's building, greeted by the silent nod of the doorman who clearly expected me, I knew it was already too late. He was waiting. The penthouse doors slid open, revealing Damian sprawled on the leather sofa like a king expecting tribute. He didn't rise. He didn't smile. "You're late," he said simply, sipping from a crystal glass. My chest tightened. "Only by a few minutes." Minutes are obedience. Minutes are respect. He set the glass down and finally looked at me, gaze sharp as a blade. "If you can't give me that, what can you give me?" I swallowed hard, the words catching in my throat. "I shouldn't be here. And yet you are." His smirk was faint but devastating. "Take off your shoes." "What?" "Shoes. Off." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. My fingers trembled as I fumbled with the laces, slipping the worn shoes from my feet. The humiliation burned, but the fire in his eyes told me I'd passed some invisible test. "Better." Damian rose slowly, moving toward me with the same quiet grace that had haunted me all day. "Phone." I hesitated. "Now." Reluctantly, I pulled it from my pocket. His hand brushed mine as he took it, and my skin lit up at the briefest contact. He set the phone on the table beside his glass, out of reach. "You won't need it," he said. "I don't like this." "You do." His voice was low, cutting through my denial. "You've been thinking about me since you left. About last night. About my words." Heat flooded my face. "No." "Yes." He stepped closer until his shadow swallowed mine. "Say it. Out loud." My throat locked. His hand rose, fingers brushing my jaw. "Say it, Castle." The pressure built until the words burst free. "I've been thinking about you." Victory flickered in his eyes. "Good. Honesty. That's the first step." The night blurred after that. He didn't touch me the way I feared he would. Not yet. Instead, Damian circled me with questions, each one digging deeper, stripping me of defenses I didn't know I had. "What scares you most? Why do you hide behind those glasses? What do you dream about when no one's looking?" Every answer left me raw, trembling. And every time I faltered, his gaze pressed harder, commanding me to go deeper. At one point, I whispered the truth I swore I'd never admit. "I can't stop thinking about you." The words were out before I could snatch them back. My chest heaved, shame burning my skin. Damian leaned in, his lips near my ear. "That's because you belong here. With me." My knees nearly buckled. And then, just as suddenly, he pulled back. His expression shifted, calm again, distant. He returned to the sofa, picked up his glass, and drank as though I hadn't just confessed something that shattered me. "Go home," he said, dismissing me with a flick of his hand. I blinked. "What?" "You've given me enough for tonight. Fear. Honesty. Desire. That's progress." His eyes locked on mine, unrelenting. "Next time, you'll give me more." "Next time? You think this ends here?" He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Castle, this is only the beginning." The finality in his tone made my stomach twist. "Go," he repeated. "But remember, don't make me call twice." I left in a daze, shoes in hand, pulse still thrumming with his words. The elevator ride felt endless, the city lights below spinning like a kaleidoscope. By the time I reached my apartment, it was nearly 3. I collapsed onto the bed, clothes still clinging to me, body shaking with exhaustion. I should have felt relief. I should have felt free. Instead, all I felt was the weight of his voice, the invisible chains he had wrapped around me tighter than any hand ever could. I pressed my face into the pillow, trying to breathe, trying to escape. That's when I noticed it. A glint of silver in my bag. I sat up, heart hammering, and pulled it out. A cufflink. Sleek, engraved with the Blackwell crest. I hadn't taken it. He had left it there. On purpose. A mark. A claim. Proof that even when I walked away, I carried him with me. I clutched it in my palm, heat searing my skin, and knew the truth I didn't want to face. I was already his. And there would be no turning back. Chapter 3, A Public Display. The cufflink glimmered in my palm like a brand. All morning, I tried to convince myself it meant nothing, just an expensive accident left behind. But deep down, I knew better. Damian never misplaced anything. It was deliberate. A reminder that even when he wasn't in the room, he owned the space around me. He owned me. I shoved the cufflink into my pocket and went to work, hoping burying myself in numbers would quiet the storm in my chest. But just before noon, a sealed envelope landed on my desk. No signature, no explanation. Just heavy, cream-colored paper with my name inked across the front in that same decisive hand. Inside, an invitation. A gala, that evening. A note written beneath in Damian's sharp script. Be ready by 8. Wear something decent. Don't make me come get you. I stared at the words until they blurred. My hands trembled. He was dragging me into his world now, not just summoning me behind closed doors but throwing me into the firelight of the elite. I thought about ignoring it, thought about disappearing, but the fear of what Damian might do, what he could do, kept me anchored to my chair. By 8, I was at the Grand Hotel ballroom, clutching at my jacket as if it could shield me. The room shimmered with gold chandeliers, diamonds, and voices polished to perfection. Everyone there seemed taller, sharper, richer. And then there was Damian, the center of gravity, sleek in a tailored black suit, hair perfectly in place, gaze sweeping the room like a silent blade. When his eyes found mine, it felt like standing naked in a cathedral. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. His nod alone told me I had obeyed, and that was enough. He pulled me into his orbit without asking, one hand brushing my lower back as he introduced me to men with fortunes in the billions and women in gowns worth more than my apartment. He spoke little, but his presence was a wall of command, making it impossible for me to breathe without thinking of him. Then Daniel Vega appeared. He was younger than Damian, maybe early 30s, with olive skin, dark hair swept back carelessly, and eyes like summer storms, warm but unpredictable. His smile was the kind that melted through defenses. When he extended his hand to me, it was as if the noise of the ballroom dimmed. "You must be Caleb," he said, his voice soft, cultured, carrying an accent I couldn't place. "I've heard nothing at all about you. Which surprises me. Damian guards his secrets, but you?" His gaze lingered on me a beat too long. "You don't seem like the kind of man who stays in the shadows." Heat rushed up my neck. I'm no one important." Daniel's smile deepened, amused. "No one important doesn't get dragged into a room like this by Damian Blackwell." I flinched at Damian's name spoken so casually, like it wasn't something to fear. Damian himself had materialized beside us, his presence chilling, his hand finding my shoulder in a way that felt possessive, warning. "Vega," Damian said, tone like steel. "You're late." Daniel chuckled, unbothered. "I make an entrance. You know that." His eyes flicked back to me. "And who's this entrance for tonight?" "His with me," Damian cut in, voice final, but Daniel's interest didn't fade. If anything, it sharpened. The rest of the evening blurred into fragments. Damian paraded me around the ballroom, keeping me close, never out of reach. His hand brushed mine when no one was looking, his voice ghosted commands in my ear, "Smile. Stand straighter. Don't speak unless spoken to." I obeyed, burning with humiliation and something more dangerous, thrill. But Daniel Vega kept reappearing, slipping through crowds like smoke, always finding me. Offering me champagne with a conspiratorial grin, whispering small jokes about the pomp of the evening, treating me like I was more than a prop. At one point, when Damian stepped away to speak with an investor, Daniel leaned close. His scent was warm, cedar and citrus, nothing like Damian's sharp cologne. "You look uncomfortable," he murmured. "Because I am," I admitted before I could stop myself. "You don't belong to this world, do you?" His tone wasn't mocking, just curious. Gentle. "I don't belong anywhere," I said quietly. Daniel studied me with those storm-colored eyes. "Don't let him convince you otherwise. Damian Blackwell doesn't own everything he touches." The words landed like a strike of lightning. No one ever spoke about Damian like that. And no one ever told me I wasn't owned. But before I could respond, a hand closed around my wrist, firm, cold. Damian was back, eyes narrowed, expression unreadable to everyone but me. He had heard enough. The rest of the gala passed in a blur of glass clinking, laughter that wasn't mine, and Damian's grip on me tightening with every passing moment. By the time the event ended, I was raw, nerves flayed open. In the limo ride back, silence stretched taut. Finally, Damian spoke. "You enjoyed his attention." It wasn't a question. I swallowed hard. He was just being polite. Damian's gaze burned through the darkness. "Polite men don't look at what's mine." My pulse spiked. "I'm not." His hand shot out, gripping my chin, tilting my face toward his. His eyes were fire and ice. "Don't ever let him touch you again." Fear tangled with anger in my chest. "You can't control everything. You can't." His lips brushed my ear, his voice a low growl. "I already do. And soon, you'll understand exactly what that means." I wrenched back, breath shuddering. "What are you talking about?" For the first time, a faint, unsettling smile curved his lips. "You're not just mine to display, Caleb. You're mine to carry. And when the time comes, the world will know." The words sank into me like ice water. "Carry?" My body reacted before my mind could catch up, a flush of terror and disbelief colliding. He couldn't mean. But the certainty in his tone left no room for denial. When the limo stopped, Damian dismissed me with a simple, "Go home." As if he hadn't just dropped a storm in my lap. I stumbled out into the night, air sharp in my lungs, the city lights swimming around me. My hand brushed against my pocket. The cufflink was still there. Heavy. Cold. But it wasn't the cufflink that haunted me now. It was Daniel Vega's voice echoing in my head. "Damian doesn't own everything he touches. And Damian's, darker, sharper, more final, you're mine to carry." I didn't know which terrified me more. Chapter 4, The Bombshell. The week after the gala stretched like a blade against my throat. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Damian's voice in the limo, "You're mine to carry." The words coiled around me, squeezing tighter with each day. I told myself it was metaphor, another twisted way of saying I belonged to him. But something about the weight in his tone wouldn't let me rest. And then there was Daniel Vega. 2 days after the gala, a message arrived, short and sharp. "If you want out, call me." It was unsigned, but I knew. His voice lingered in my memory, warm, almost kind. He had looked at me like I was more than a shadow trailing Damian Blackwell. For the first time in months, I felt the flicker of choice. But choice was dangerous. That evening, I heard the knock. No, the pound. My blood iced over before I even opened the door. Damian stood in the hall like a storm bottled into a suit. His eyes swept the apartment once, then fixed on me. "You didn't answer my call." "I don't work on your schedule," I snapped before I could stop myself. His jaw tightened. "You work on mine, always." He stepped inside without permission, every inch of him filling the room. "And I hear you've been talking to Vega." I froze. "What?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips, deadly, knowing. "He's sloppy. He leaves footprints everywhere. Did he tell you he could save you? That he could keep you safe?" Damian leaned close, voice low enough to scrape bone. "He can't. Because he doesn't know what you are." "What the hell does that mean?" My voice shook. "You want the truth?" His gaze sliced into me, dark, merciless. Fine. You're not like other men. Your body is capable of carrying life. That's why you burn under my touch. That's why you can't leave. You were made for this. The world tilted. My knees nearly gave out. You're insane. I don't waste time with fantasies. Damian reached into his coat and tossed a folder onto my table. It slid open, pages fanning out, scans, charts, results stamped with medical insignias I didn't recognize. My name printed across the top of every page. I had you tested months ago, he said softly. Quietly. You never noticed. I stared at the papers, unable to breathe. Every line blurred, but the words leapt at me, recessive markers, viable, gestational capacity. No, I whispered. No, this can't. Damian's hand gripped my chin, forcing my eyes to his. Deny it all you want. Your body tells me the truth every time you come undone for me. Tears burned behind my eyes, rage twisting with terror. You don't get to decide that. It's my body. It's ours, he corrected, voice like velvet and knives. And soon, it will hold what I've been waiting for. I shoved him away, bile rising in my throat. Get out. He didn't move. His calm was worse than violence, like a predator crouched in grass. You won't last a day without me, Caleb. Vega will find that out the hard way. And then, just like that, he left, silent, composed, leaving me gasping in the wreckage of my own living room. I ran. I didn't think, didn't pack, didn't breathe. My legs carried me through streets blurred with neon and rain until I found myself outside a quiet glass building downtown. The address Daniel had slipped into my pocket at the gala. He was waiting. Caleb, he said, relief flashing across his face. Come in. Quickly. Inside, his office was sleek but warm, bookshelves lined with leather, city lights pouring through tall windows. He poured me water, but my hands shook too badly to hold it. He told me, I whispered. About me. I couldn't say the word. Daniel's eyes softened. Male pregnancy isn't a myth. It's rare, and hidden for good reason. Men like Damian Blackwell would turn it into power, legacy, control. He leaned forward. But you're not a vessel for him. You're a person. And you still have a choice. A choice? I laughed bitterly, the sound breaking. He had me tested without my consent. He's watching me every second. How is that choice? Daniel's jaw hardened. Then let me help you disappear. The word lodged in my chest. Disappear. Freedom dangled before me like a forbidden fruit. But before I could answer, the door slammed open. Damian filled the frame, eyes like wildfire. The room chilled. Daniel stood, his easy warmth replaced by steel. Blackwell. Always barging in where you're not wanted. Damian didn't look at him. His gaze pinned me. I told you Vega was dangerous. Daniel laughed coldly. Dangerous is letting you cage him like livestock. I stood between them, my heart splitting. Damian's shadow loomed over me, suffocating, certain. Daniel radiated defiance, offering me air I couldn't trust. Damian stepped closer, his voice low, lethal, for me alone. It doesn't matter who stands beside you. Your body has already chosen me. The words cracked through me like thunder. My pulse screamed in my ears. Daniel's hand brushed my arm, grounding me, pulling me back, but the damage was done. Damian's truth, my body's betrayal, the impossible future already written inside me. And for the first time, I realized, there was no way out that didn't burn. Chapter 5, The First Signs. I woke with the taste of fear on my tongue. Bitter, metallic, like I'd swallowed coins in my sleep. Damian's voice still echoed in my head, curling through my dreams like smoke. It doesn't matter who stands beside you. Your body has already chosen me. My body. I sat upright too quickly, heart hammering, sweat clinging to my skin. The bed felt foreign, narrow, stiff, not mine. Sheets twisted around my legs as if I'd been wrestling someone who wasn't there. Daniel's guest room. Daniel's safe house. A borrowed prison disguised as a sanctuary. The blinds were drawn tight. The ceiling fan hummed lazily, stirring stale air. I pressed a hand against my stomach before I even realized what I was doing. It felt the same, flat, ordinary. But the thought made bile rise in my throat. The door creaked open. Daniel stepped in, holding a steaming mug. His sharp suits were gone, replaced by plain clothes, but even in a t-shirt he moved like a blade, precise and unyielding. "You didn't sleep," he said. "You didn't either," I rasped. He set the mug down on the nightstand, ginger tea. I didn't touch it. I hated how he looked at me, like I was made of glass that might crack with one wrong word. "Stop staring," I muttered. His eyes flicked to my hand. I hadn't realized I was still pressing it against my stomach. "I don't have to stare," he said quietly. "I already know what he did to you." The words hit like a punch. I shook my head, too fast, desperate. "No. He's playing with me, Daniel. He wants control, he always has. That's all this is." "Then why are you shaking?" I opened my mouth to deny it, but my body betrayed me. A wave of nausea slammed into me so hard I lurched out of bed, stumbling toward the bathroom. I dropped to my knees just in time, my stomach convulsing, emptying itself in harsh, humiliating spasms. Daniel's hand settled on my shoulder. I shoved him away, choking. Don't touch me." He didn't move. His voice stayed calm, but his eyes burned. "It's starting." I froze. My chest ached like a cage around my lungs. By midday, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Daniel's so-called safe house was wrapped in security, locks, alarms, cameras, but when I stepped onto the balcony, I saw it. The car. Black, tinted windows, parked too long, too still. "He's letting you breathe," Daniel muttered when I told him. My throat tightened. What does that even mean? "It means he's waiting for you to crawl back on your own." I slammed the balcony door shut so hard the glass rattled. The thought made me sick. Damian didn't even have to touch me anymore. He knew I'd come to him. That night, I woke shaking. My throat was dry, my skin burning. I staggered to the sink, splashed water on my face, and caught sight of myself in the mirror. I almost didn't recognize the man staring back. Pale, hollow-eyed, lips cracked. My hand hovered over my stomach without permission. "No," I whispered. "No, it's not real." But heat pulsed low in my abdomen, undeniable, mocking. "You can't keep running from what's inside you." I spun around, heart in my throat. Daniel stood in the doorway, shadow cutting across the tiles. "You sound just like him," I snapped. His jaw tightened. "Don't compare me to Damian. I'm nothing like him." I laughed bitterly. "Then why does this feel the same? One cage for another." "At least my cage doesn't have chains," he shot back. His voice softened, dangerous in its calm. "I'm giving you a choice." "What choice?" My voice cracked. If he's right, if this is happening, then I don't have one. Not anymore. Daniel held my gaze, his expression unreadable. "There's always a choice. Even if it's the kind that burns everything to the ground." His words left me colder than silence. The next morning, the black car was gone. For a heartbeat, I let myself hope. But then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. "Eat something. You're not the only one who feels it." The phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. Daniel picked it up. His jaw clenched. "He's toying with you." How would he even know? My words broke off. "Because," Daniel said flatly, "he's done this before." The room tilted. My stomach lurched. "What do you mean, done this before?" Daniel didn't answer. His silence said everything. "Tell me," I demanded. My voice was raw, broken. Finally, he looked at me, something cracking behind his eyes. "You think you're the first person Damian's marked? You're not. You're just the first he won't let go of." The ground disappeared beneath me. I wanted to scream. Instead, dizziness crashed over me like a wave. My knees buckled. The world blurred, and I collapsed against Daniel before I could stop myself. My phone buzzed again, slipping out of his grip and lighting up on the carpet. It begins. Chapter 6, Breaking Point. I used to think nightmares ended when you woke up. Now, I know better. Because when I opened my eyes that morning, the nightmare didn't vanish, it tightened. My stomach was already in knots, my mouth sour, my skin damp. I barely made it to the bathroom before I doubled over, gagging, body convulsing like it wanted to rid itself of something it couldn't. When it was over, I pressed my forehead to the cold tile floor, shaking. My throat burned. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely wipe my mouth. I didn't need anyone to tell me. Damian had been right. The thought sent another wave of nausea through me, sharper than anything physical. The door creaked open. Daniel's voice, calm, too calm. You need to drink water. I slammed the door shut with my foot. Leave me alone. Caleb. I said leave me alone. My voice cracked. I hated how desperate it sounded. There was silence. Then, softer, you can't fight this on the bathroom floor. His footsteps faded. I stayed there until my body stopped shaking. But the truth lingered, heavy as stone. Something was happening inside me, and every denial I'd clung to was falling apart. By the time I stepped out, Daniel was waiting in the kitchen. His arms were crossed, his eyes sharp, watching me like a hawk. On the counter, a bowl of soup sat untouched. You're pale, he said. Don't start, I muttered, dropping into the chair. I'm not starting. I'm stating facts. I shoved the bowl away. And what? You're going to tell me he was right? That this is real? Daniel didn't answer right away. He looked at me, his expression unreadable, then said, I'm telling you that pretending won't make it stop. My laugh was bitter, broken. Oh, that's comforting. Should I thank you? He leaned forward, voice low. You don't have to thank me. You just have to listen. We can still run. Change everything, names, places. Disappear. I stared at him. And then what? Hide forever? If it keeps you out of his reach, yes. I shook my head. You don't get it, Daniel. He doesn't need to find me. He's already inside me. The words slipped out before I could stop them. The air between us snapped taut. Daniel's eyes darkened, his jaw tightening. That's exactly what he wants you to believe, he said finally. But it didn't sound like conviction. It sounded like desperation. That evening, the knock came. Not Damian. Not yet. A package. Daniel checked it, scanned it for anything dangerous before handing it over. It's for you. I didn't want to open it. My gut already knew. But my hands moved anyway, tearing through the plain brown paper. Inside, a folder. Medical reports. Ultrasound scans. My name on the paperwork. My blood results. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. How? My throat closed. How the hell does he have this? Daniel's face was stone. The folder slipped from my hands, pages scattering across the table. At the bottom, a note written in Damian's hand. You can hide from me, but not from the truth inside you. I staggered back, knocking over the chair. My chest heaved. I wanted to scream, to tear the paper into shreds, to claw my way out of my own skin. Instead, I turned on Daniel. Did you know? Did you let him do this? His eyes flashed. Don't you dare. You knew. My voice broke. All this time, you've been watching me like some experiment. Just like him. His control cracked. He slammed his fist against the table, the sound splitting the air. Don't you ever compare me to Damian. The silence after was deafening. I was shaking, tears burning my eyes. Then why does it feel like I'm trapped either way? Him with his chains, you with your walls, what's the difference? For once, Daniel didn't have a quick answer. His shoulders sank, and when he finally spoke, his voice was raw. The difference is that I lost someone once. Someone Damian broke. I won't let him do it again. The words hung heavy between us. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But all I could feel was the gnawing truth in my own body, the undeniable betrayal of my own flesh. That night, I dreamed of Damian. Not the nightmare kind, either. His hands were on me, his breath hot against my ear. His voice slid through me like smoke, like silk. You can fight me in the daylight, but at night, you always return. I woke gasping, sheets damp, heart pounding, and worse, a flush of shame crawling through me. Because some part of me responded. I pressed my palms to my face, trembling. I hated him. I hated myself more. Through the blinds, I saw them again. Not one car this time. Two. Parked closer. Watching. The walls of the safe house felt smaller, suffocating. The breaking point came the next afternoon. I was pacing the living room, ranting, shouting, I don't even remember the words. Daniel was trying to calm me, his patience fraying with every second. Then it hit. A sharp, slicing pain through my abdomen, so sudden I dropped to my knees with a cry. The room spun. My skin went clammy, my chest seizing. Caleb! Daniel was at my side instantly, catching me before I collapsed. Stay with me. Breathe, damn it, breathe. I clawed at his shirt, gasping. It's happening, it's real. I've got you, he swore, voice breaking in a way I'd never heard before. I won't let him take you. But deep down, I knew. It was too late. The door opened. Not Daniel this time. Damian. He stepped into the safe house as if he owned it, his presence filling the room, suffocating the air. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. I don't need to chase you anymore, he said, eyes locked on me. Cold. Certain. You've already crossed the threshold. Daniel's grip tightened on me. I could feel his pulse hammering beneath his skin, his body tensed for a fight. I was caught between them, Daniel's desperation, Damian's certainty, and the unbearable truth inside me. And in that moment, I realized there was no escape. Chapter 7. The Choice. I felt it the moment he stepped into the room. The air shifted, heavy and suffocating, like the walls themselves bowed in his presence. Damian. His silhouette filled the doorway, tall, composed, terrifyingly calm, as if he had been here all along, simply waiting for me to realize there was never an escape. Daniel moved first, shoving me behind him. You're not taking him, he spat, voice vibrating with fury. Damian didn't look at him. His gaze was on me, sharp as a blade, soft as silk. Caleb, he said, like my name was a truth he owned. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to demand he leave, to tell him he had no claim over me. But my throat constricted, betraying me with silence. Get out, Daniel growled. Or I'll... You'll what? Damian's voice cut clean through the air. He stepped forward, unhurried, and Daniel tensed like a bowstring ready to snap. You've hidden him well enough, Vega. But you know this was inevitable. I don't chase ghosts. I chase what's mine. Mine. The word struck me like lightning, searing through marrow and nerve. Daniel's fists clenched. He isn't yours. Damian finally turned his gaze on him, cold and disdainful. You think he belongs to you? Do you even hear yourself? Then his eyes slid back to me, burning. The only one who hasn't spoken for himself is Caleb. Something inside me cracked. The words poured out like acid. Neither of you have asked me what I want. My voice shook the room. Daniel stiffened. Damian's head tilted slightly, like a predator amused by prey's defiance. What do you want, Caleb? Damian asked softly. Too softly. The kind of softness that smothered. My mouth opened, but no sound came. My heart thundered, my body trembling with the war I couldn't win. I hated him, I should hate him. For the way he had marked me, claimed me, haunted me. For the way he had dismantled every illusion of safety. But underneath the terror, something shameful coiled, relentless. A pull, deep and raw, the way my body betrayed me in his presence. "I want you gone," I whispered, but it sounded hollow. Even Daniel heard it. His head snapped toward me, eyes flashing confusion, betrayal. Damian's lips curved, not quite a smile. "Lies taste bitter when you speak them, Caleb." Daniel stepped forward, voice breaking. "You don't have to do this. We can run, we can leave tonight. Forget him, forget all of this." His hand reached for me, trembling but desperate. "Choose me, Caleb. Please." I looked at him. At the man who had sheltered me, hidden me, cared for me. But even as his words poured into me, they wrapped like chains, another prison. He wanted to save me, but he wanted me bound to him in the saving. His love was fire, warm, yes, but consuming, demanding. Then I looked at Damian. Unmoving. Patient. Certain. His presence swallowed the air, but he didn't plead, didn't beg. He simply waited, as if the outcome had been written long before this moment. "You see the truth already," Damian said. "Your body knows. Your heart knows. Running won't change what's inside you. You can fear me, fight me, hate me, but you can't deny me." His voice lowered to a whisper that only I could hear. "You've never been able to." My knees trembled. Images rushed me, his hands, his mouth, the night everything began. The way he broke me open and built me again in the same breath. I hated him for it. I ached for it. "No," Daniel muttered, shaking his head. His eyes glistened. "Don't let him do this to you, Caleb. Don't give him the satisfaction. You're stronger than this. You're—" But his words faded under the weight of what surged through me. Strength? No. I wasn't strong. Not against this. Not against Damian. Tears burned in my eyes as I whispered, "I can't fight him." Daniel flinched like I'd struck him. "Caleb." "I can't," I repeated, louder this time, breaking apart with every syllable. My voice cracked, my chest heaved, but the truth was undeniable. I couldn't fight what had already claimed me. Damian stepped closer, slow, deliberate, until he stood before me. Daniel tried to block him, but Damian's hand shot out, shoving him aside with effortless force. Daniel hit the wall with a grunt, but I barely saw it. My world was narrowed to the man in front of me. His hand rose, hovering just above my cheek, not touching. "Waiting." "Say it," he murmured. Every muscle in my body screamed against it, but my lips moved anyway. "I'm yours." The moment the words left me, Damian's hand closed the distance, cradling my face with terrifying gentleness. My knees buckled, but he held me steady. Daniel shouted something, my name, maybe, but it drowned in the roar of blood in my ears. Damian's lips brushed my temple. "You always were." A sob escaped me, but not from resistance. From surrender. From the awful, dizzying relief of giving in. Daniel lunged again, grabbing my arm. "No. Caleb, listen to me, you don't have to." Damian's voice turned to steel. He's made his choice. I looked at Daniel, my chest breaking. His eyes were wide, shattered, like I'd stabbed him in the heart. And maybe I had. Maybe I was cruel, maybe I was weak, but I couldn't give him what he wanted. Not when the gravity of Damian pulled every piece of me downward. "I'm sorry," I whispered. And it was the truest thing I'd said all night. Damian pulled me into his chest, his arm wrapping around me like iron. I felt Daniel's grip slip away, felt the fight drain from him. The sound of his ragged breathing filled the silence, and then nothing. The safehouse walls felt smaller now, caving in around us. But Damian's hold was vast, unyielding, inescapable. My body shook, my mind reeled, but somewhere beneath it all, an awful calm seeped in. The war was over. The choice was made. Damian tilted my face up to meet his gaze. His eyes were fire, endless and merciless. "You'll hate me, some days," he said softly. "But you'll never leave." And the terrifying thing was, I knew he was right. Because in the hollow of my chest, where fear and shame coiled tight, something darker bloomed. Desire. The kind that ruined. The kind that bound. The kind that felt like destiny. I closed my eyes, let the weight of him consume me, and whispered the only truth left. Yes.
I hope you enjoyed our story. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so you do not miss any new stories. Also, we would be looking forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments.